You are looking at Gigabyte's new flagship model. Check it out. It's the X58A-UD7. Absolutely incredible motherboard. It's a revision of their last series of X58 motherboards, but it's got all the new stuff like USB 3.0 and SATA 3, which is very, very nice. It's got some really cool options, and it's definitely a great board for enthusiasts, overclockers, gamers. Pretty much anybody would want this board because it's good for everybody. Now, it is quite a hefty board. It's got a hefty price tag to follow with it, but for what you get, it's an absolutely incredible value. Now, there's a couple things that I've noticed on this thing just by handling it, and I gotta tell you, the first thing is, you know, the ultra durable 3 they're always talking about? It's actually, it's in here, man. It works. This motherboard is so thick. It is so strong. You usually feel flex in your motherboards when you shake them, especially really heavy ones like this. This thing is very, very stiff. With that ultra durable 3, that actually decreases the impedance on the power. What happens is they use a lot more copper between the layers of the printed circuit board, which makes it more durable, makes it basically expel heat faster and quicker, dissipate heat, and then it also decreases the impedance of the electricity going through here. So let's talk a little bit, first of all, about the specs and about the CPU socket. I'm going to start over here because this is probably one of the most impressive parts of the board. Now, this is obviously the 1366 socket right here. What's really impressive, though, all this going on out here. It's got 24 phases of pulse width modulation for the CPU and an additional 4 phases for the VTT and the QPI, which also control the memory controller. So very clean, very nice power. It means it's going to give you an incredible overclock. It's going to be extremely efficient, and it's going to run cooler than a single phase or a system that has less phases of power than this one does. So very nice socket. Also on the back, it's kind of cool to see, there are extra MOSFETs back here. 8 of them in total, which is really cool. You just don't see stuff like that ever. There's 8 for the CPU, and there's another 2 actually for the integrated memory controller of the CPU. I can't really figure out which those 2 are. I'm guessing it's these 2 over here. But very, very nice setup. Now, let's move on right next door to the DIMMs. Of course, this is triple channel memory, up to 2200 megahertz on this board, so it can take the 4 gigabyte DIMMs, and very, very fast DDR3, of course. Next, we'll talk a little bit about the sockets because there's a lot of PCI connectivity on this board. So let's start off from the top. PCI Express X1, X1. This is a PCI Express X16 2.0, X16 2.0, X16 2.0, PCI X16 2.0 again. Now, here's the way these break down as far as lanes of connectivity. If you populate all of them, you're going to get X16, X16, X8, X8. So that means you can do 4-way crossfire or 4-way SLI, and it would work, assuming that you're doing a compatible card and there's drivers when that happens. But if you did want to do 4 5870s, it would work on this board, which is extremely impressive. You also have space to add PCI slots and sound cards. You know, you have multiple options for adding stuff like that. Now, on top of that, let's talk about the SATA headers, because like I said, this does support the new SATA 3. So these 2 right here are the SATA 3. These are going to their separate controller. I'm not 100% sure it's either a Micron or Marvel, but these 4 right here are going to a separate controller. These are SATA 2. These are SATA 3, 6 gigabit per second, and the rest of them are just SATA 2 going to the ICH-10R Southbridge chipset. Now, also, there's 2 more SATAs, but they are on the back over here, and they are right here. These are 2 eSATAs. They also happen to be eSATA USB combos, so they'll actually do both, and that's kind of important to know. While we're back here, let me move over here. I want to show you the whole back panel. You do have 2 PS2s, your coax and your SPDIF, both your analog and your digital. This is a clear CMOS button, very handy for overclockers. You have those 2 USB eSATA combo that I told you about. You have 2 USB 2.0s right here. This is a FireWire, a micro FireWire, or an iLink FireWire, dual gigabit Ethernet, of course, with some pretty handy-dandy teaming technology built in. 2 more USB 2.0 ports. These are 2 USB 3.0 ports, which are also backwards compatible. If you don't know about this, this is literally 10 times faster. So this one over here, 480 megabit per second. This one right here, 4.8 gigabit per second. Very, very fast. You also have 7.1 channel HD audio right here. And that's basically it. So you have an incredible motherboard. Now, there are a few other things that you can imagine would be on a such a premium motherboard from Gigabyte. So, of course, it's going to include that. That stuff includes, like, LCD poster, like that's right over here. See if you can zoom in right there. You do have an LCD poster. You do have a dual BIOS chip setup. So right over here, there are 2 BIOS chips. So if one of them were to completely go corrupt and completely fail, you couldn't flash it, you couldn't do anything, you're stuck like Chuck, you just switch to the second one and you're back in business, right back into overclocking. Also, right over here, there is extra connectivity for USB 2.0 as well as FireWire right here. So if you want to add via the headers, you can. It does have a floppy drive port, which is just bizarre. Actually, I think that's floppy, and this is IDE. I don't know why they put that stuff there anymore. I don't think I've used one in like 10 years, but it is there if you need it. Of course, 24-pin motherboard connector, 8-pin up here at the top for your 12 volt if you want to know where it is. It's up here in the corner where most motherboards are. Some new motherboards that have come out recently are in other locations, and it's just dumb. This is the best place to put the 8-pin 12 volt connector. So that's basically it. Very, very nice motherboard. Also, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but obviously it does like to be liquid cooled. This will cool the X58 as well as, since it has that hybrid pipe design, there is a link between the ICH10R Southbridge chipset and the X58 chipset. So if you want to water cool it, you can right there. It's also going to cool. You can see there's 2 big, nice chrome heat pipes going into the VRMs and the MOSFETs over here. So you'll keep the whole motherboard cool by just water cooling this little section. And of many cool things that it comes within the box, this is a nice little heat sink. And basically what you do with this is you drop it right here, and this takes up a PCI Express slot in the back. You have to screw it down, obviously, but it would take a PCI Express slot in the back, and hot air can leave through there. It's a very nice little setup for the people that don't want to water cool their Northbridge chipset or their X58 chipset, but it's also a very nice option if you do want to water cool. It's preset. Also, it's important to note that if you don't want to water cool and you want to air cool, but you're not going to be doing anything really extreme where the X58 chip is going to get really hot or where everything's going to get really hot, you can leave this setup the way it is, and you don't actually have to have liquid going through here. Even without that, it will work just fine. And so that's basically it. It's an extremely high-end motherboard. I think it's probably one of my favorite on the market right now for general high-end usage, like maybe a classified might be better for extreme overclocking, or there might be another board better for gaming. But I mean, all in all, if you need a high-end motherboard and it needs to work and need to be incredibly good, have every feature you can imagine, this is probably what I would shoot for, the X58A-UD7. If you have any questions on it, feel free to email me, and I will see you guys next time. For more information on the Gigabyte X58A-UD7 motherboard, type in G452-0014 into any major search engine.
Yeah.